Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. We continue our series of Shahnameh stories. When he passed away, his son Jamshid succeeded him and sat on the throne of kingship. All the people in his domain paid their respects to him and regarded him as their king. Not only humans, but also the fairies gathered under Jamshid's banner. At the beginning, Jamshid was very proud and arrogant, but gradually, he let go of his pride and tried to dedicate himself to serving the people of his land. He started many positive actions. In the beginning, using the fire they had discovered and the iron they had obtained, they bent the iron and created various products. They began to produce weapons, swords, sharp spears, daggers, helmets, and armor that protected them during battle. They also made armor for horses so that the horses wouldn't be harmed in battle. Next, Jamshid focused on fabric production. Using the thread they had obtained, they created colorful fabrics and carpets, which had never existed in previous times. They also made woolen clothes that were unlike anything found in other lands. He spent 50 years of his life doing these things, and Jamshid was a king who lived for a long time. He then decided to dedicate the next 50 years to the people of his country and divided the people into 4 groups. The first group was the clergy, those who were faithful and spent most of their time in praise of God. They were considered the spiritual community and were tasked with religious duties and protecting the fire. The second group was the warriors of the land, the military people. They were organized into an army to protect the crown, the kingdom, and the lives and property of the people. The third group consisted of farmers, those who owned agricultural land and grew crops to feed the people. They worked hard for their bread and were responsible for producing food. The fourth group was the craftsmen, those who could produce goods using the same iron and fire. They created various items and sold them, enriching the land. These 4 main groups were established by Jamshid over the course of 50 years. Jamshid also took action regarding the demons in his land. He put the demons to work, telling them to mix earth and water to make bricks. They used these bricks to build large, beautiful palaces and buildings, transforming his land into a stunning place. The land was surrounded by tall, strong walls to protect it from enemies who could not defeat them. He also explored the mines in the region and extracted gold, silver, copper, and precious stones. The economy flourished once again. Ships were built, launched, and the people reached distant lands. During Jamshid's reign, medicine also prospered. They discovered certain drugs that helped cure the sick, and people's lifespans increased. They also began producing perfumes. Everything was going well, and Jamshid decided to hold a grand celebration for all the positive actions and accomplishments. He ordered the construction of a royal throne and sat on it, gathering the people. He instructed the demons to lift the throne to the sky. The demons took the throne to the heavens, and all around Jamshid, angels surrounded him. The people on the ground threw flowers at him, and the people of his land declared that this day should be celebrated every year in gratitude for the divine blessings they had received. That day was the first day of Farvardin, and it became known as Nowruz, the Persian New Year. Jamshid's Nowruz has remained an important tradition for us to this day, and this is how the Nowruz festival was born. He spent 200 years engaged in these important tasks. The people of that land lived in friendship. No one was idle, and everyone had a craft or profession to sustain their lives. Every year, he would hold a celebration for Nowruz and tell the people to be thankful. However, gradually, the youthful pride returned to Jamshid. He became overcome with a strange feeling and thought that all the blessings the people had were because of him. He believed Jamshid should be praised even more. He organized a gathering and invited the nobles of the land. He shouted at them, saying that everything they had was because of him. Instead of worshipping God, they should worship him. In fact, he claimed he was God. He ordered the clergy to support this claim, saying that God had given the land to Jamshid. The nobles were stunned and remained silent at his court, unsure of how to respond. They became distant and gradually, those around him began to turn away from him. The people distanced themselves from Jamshid as well. Sometime later, the divine glory that had been with Jamshid was taken away. It had been this divine glory that had made the people love him. The Almighty no longer wished to assist Jamshid. His soldiers, too, no longer had the desire to obey him. Chaos spread across his land, and Jamshid realized he had made mistakes and that he had caused these events. But it was too late. Rebellion and turmoil spread everywhere, and most of his followers had turned away from him. It was during this time that Zahhak appeared. Zahhak was a prince, the son of a great man named Merdiz, who was the king of a land inhabited by warriors. Merdiz was a just man and a fire worshipper who devoted himself to the worship of God. Zahhak was a brave man as well, known for his strength and courage in his land. One day, a young, handsome man came to Zahhak. This young man was, in fact, the devil, and he approached Zahhak to deceive him. He told him that he was a real hero, the rightful heir to the throne, and that he should claim the throne for himself. Zahhak agreed, saying that once his father passed away, the throne would be his. The devil, disguised as the young man, said there was no doubt about it but pointed out that Zahhak's father was elderly and would not die soon. He explained that Zahhak would grow old waiting for his inheritance, and that he might die without ever taking the throne unless he took some action. Zahhak asked what he should do, and the devil told him he would guide him. He said that they needed to make a pact, and Zahhak must promise not to reveal the devil's secrets. If Zahhak broke this pact, he would be dishonored across all lands. Zahhak agreed and asked the devil to tell him the plan. The devil suggested they eliminate his father, Merdiz, so Zahhak could take the throne without any obstacles. At first, Zahhak hesitated, feeling it was a dangerous act, but the devil insisted it was the only way. Zahhak eventually agreed. The devil's plan was to kill Merdiz, and he took responsibility for executing the plot. Merdiz had a garden he would visit every night. There, he would wash his hands and face in a stream and engage in prayers to God. The place was very dark, and there was no light in that garden. This situation allowed the devil to execute his plan more easily. On his way, Merdiz encountered a deep pit, and when he was on his way to the garden for prayer, he didn't see the pit in the darkness and fell into it, losing his life in the process. After this event, Zahhak placed the crown of kingship on his head and told the people of his land that he was their king and they should bow to him. Here, he also distances himself from Zahhak's character. The plan was set, and the devil became the one to carry it out. In Merdiz's palace, there was a garden that Merdiz would visit every night. There was a stream in the garden, where Merdiz would wash his hands and face before praying to God until morning. It was very dark there, and there was no light in the garden. This allowed the devil to execute his plan more easily. On his way, Merdiz encountered a pit, and when he was heading for the garden to pray, he didn't see the pit and fell into it, losing his life. After this, Zahhak put the crown of kingship on his head and told the people of the land that he was their king and they should bow to him. The second time, the devil came in the form of a cook and found his way into Zahhak's palace. The devil, in the form of the cook, said he was a skilled chef and would love to have the honor of cooking delicious meals for the king of the world. Zahhak agreed. At that time, most of the food people ate was made from grains, and they didn't consume much meat. But what did the devil do? He started hunting animals and prepared meat dishes for Zahhak. First, he made fish dishes, which Zahhak enjoyed and became fond of. Then, he slaughtered a goat and made kebabs, which Zahhak also liked. After that, he turned to eggs and birds, preparing dishes from poultry. All of these were to Zahhak's liking. So much so that Zahhak and this cook, who was actually the devil, became very close, and a deep, intimate relationship developed between them. The devil, now in the form of the cook, went to Zahhak again and said that, due to all the services he had provided, he had one request. Zahhak agreed. Well, if you allow me, I would like to kiss the shoulders of the king, which would be the greatest honor for me. Zahhak agreed, saying, "You may kiss my shoulders." The devil kissed Zahhak's shoulders, and in front of everyone, he suddenly went underground and disappeared. This event was very strange. Everyone was stunned, but an even stranger event occurred a few seconds later. Two snakes emerged from Zahhak's shoulders and began to grow. No one could believe it. The snakes were cut from Zahhak's shoulders, but two more snakes appeared in their place and grew even bigger. This story continued, causing distress and suffering for Zahhak. Finally, the devil appeared again, this time as a doctor, and came to Zahhak. He told Zahhak that the cure for his pain wasn't to remove the snakes. It wasn't to cut them off. Rather, Zahhak needed to do something to prevent them from growing. If they don't grow anymore, and every time you cut off the heads of these snakes, they will grow back, but their growth will be even worse than the last time. Zahhak said, I will do anything you say, just save me from this suffering. The devil replied, the cure for your pain is feeding these snakes. You must feed your own snakes. Zahhak asked, what should I feed them? The devil said, the brains of young men. Every day, kill 2 young men, remove their brains, and give them to the snakes on your shoulders. From that day on, the snakes will no longer grow. In fact, the devil's plan was to make humanity extinct through this act and let the world fall into the hands of demons. Zahhak did just that. Every day, 2 young men were brought, killed, their brains removed, and given to the snakes on Zahhak's shoulders. From that point on, the snakes grew bigger and stronger. These events occurred during the disturbances within Iran, where the people had become disillusioned with King Jamshid. Many people left Jamshid's kingdom and went to Zahhak, swearing allegiance to him and declaring that Jamshid was oppressing them. Zahhak accepted their plea, and with a powerful army, he marched toward Iran, took control of the country, placed the crown on his head, and took charge of the affairs of the kingdom. Jamshid, fearing for his life, fled the area. For a while, he wandered across the world, moving from one land to another, until eventually, they found Jamshid near the shores of the China Sea. Following Zahhak's orders, Jamshid was captured and executed, marking the end of Jamshid's reign and the beginning of Zahhak's rule. Don't forget to like my videos and subscribe to my channel.